Well, good evening, candidates. Well, we're going to have some ground rules for this event since we have a short amount of time. I do want to say, for the onset, Mr. Barton could not be here this evening. He wanted to be here, but unfortunately he had a personal emergency to come up, so I ask that you all keep him and his family in your prayers as they get through that situation. So I want to start with that. Our rules for this evening pretty much, we will give you a chance to introduce yourselves, and you have 2 minutes uninterrupted to talk. Then you each will have 2 questions, then you both will have the same question. Please do not personally attack each other, because there will not be a chance to rebuttal, and this goes for all the races. So that way, after you all say what you have to say, we'll say time. There will be no warning that your time is up. I'll just say stop, and then the next person will go. Out of fairness, we will start in alphabetical order. Just make sure Commissioner Ayers is going to keep my time peaceful, so we make sure everybody has their full amount of time. And all right, we're going to start with Mr. Willie Davis. Mr. Davis, could you please introduce yourself and tell the community why you want to be the District 1 candidate?
Thank you. My name is Willie G. Davis. I've lived in this community for the most part all of my life. I'm a native of Atlanta. Been living in, like I say, in this community for the most part since I was in the 12th grade. I grew up in Adamsville, and then I moved out here, so I've been a part of this community for that long. I'm an attorney, been practicing law for the last 21 years. I've been very active in politics and in government. I think I'm the only candidate of the 16 that remains that has the legal, political, and government experience to be ready to work on day one. For the last 2 years, also say that I'm the only candidate. I have served as vice president at Randolph, Sandtown, and Westlake. I've served as PTA president at Randolph and at Westlake, and I currently serve as PTA president at Westlake. I've also served 2 years as co-chair and budget chair of the School Government Council at Randolph, and I currently serve as school government chair at Sandtown Middle School today. I'm running because, to be honest with you, I thought that if we were going to put this city together, that it was going to take all of us to work together. I did not take a position when it came to the vote. When I decided to run, I was running because I thought we needed to work together. I thought that we needed to come together. I did not come into this campaign on a divisive issue. I was not somebody who spoke pro-war cityhood, and I was not somebody who campaigned against those who wanted to be annexed into the city of Atlanta. So I think based on that I was better prepared to bring this district together to represent everybody in this district, since I did not start this campaign being divisive as to pitching pro-cityhood against annexation. So that's why I'm running, and I want to work with others to get this city moving.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Dr. Rao.
I'm Catherine Foster Rao. I am a 18-year resident of the Sandtown community, and I bring to the table over 20 years of government experience. I currently have been active in our school community for the last 7 years, serving currently as your school governance council chair at A. Randolph. One of the things that prompted me to decide to run was the fact that I sat in that position when our community was actually faced with the annexation. And for those who don't know, that brought a lot of uncertainty, not only to our parents who were concerned about where their children would be attending schools, it also had a profound effect on our educators who were in the building, not knowing about the impact it was going to have on their jobs. For those who don't know, we had a lot of turnover in that year. We also were faced with the fact that we had a $6 million renovation of our school that was put off because of the annexation. So as you can imagine, being the parent representative at that school, I got a lot of questions and concerns, and so I decided to get involved and get engaged on issues around schools. And so at the end of the day, I thought it was very important that any leader representing the community should be concerned about the impact that it has on children. And so that was my motivation. And in fact, that's what also got me involved with a group called Protecting Our Schools and Communities. That group was engaged to really basically educate the community. And we held a series of town hall meetings at April, Randolph, Sandtown, and Westlake to make sure people in the community really understood what was gonna happen to schools and the fact that 1,600 kids were gonna be displaced. And so I'm serving and I want to continue working hard in the community on your behalf. I've already proven that I'm gonna make sure that we get everything we deserve as a community and as a new city. And so I ask for your vote and support, and I want you to allow me to use that 20 years of city planning experience that I have to the table.
Thank you, Dr. Bauer. We're going to start with you for our first question. The first question is, do you support the City of Atlanta or the City of South Fulton's position on the current case surrounding annexation? Why or why not? And you have 2 minutes.
I think at the end of the day, one of the key things, I think the people who filed the lawsuit, they're right, they're entitled to do that. I was initially had stepped up and was willing to get involved, but it never came to the Sandtown community. So from the standpoint for those community and those residents who are supporting basically not being annexed, I do support that if that's their desire.
All right, thank you, Dr. Bauer. Now we have Mr. Davis for your response to the same question.
Could you repeat, I'm sorry, repeat the question, I want to make sure I answered it correctly.
Yes. Do you support the City of Atlanta's position or the City of South Fulton's position in the current case surrounding annexation? Why or why not?
Well, I support the City of Atlanta's position to the point that everything that I understood and I looked at from a legality point, that they met the requirements to be annexed into the City of Atlanta, that that's their desire, that that's what they wanted to do. I understand that the lawsuit pending goes more of a procedure type thing, but I never understood that how those who wanted cityhood, how their rights were greater than those who wanted to be annexed into the City of Atlanta. So why would you take your right to cityhood and fight against those people who wanted to be annexed into the city? I think in a democracy, everybody has the right to choose, and those people that wanted to be annexed into the City of Atlanta, I think for the most part that they met the requirements that they were supposed to do, and the court, the Supreme Court would make that decision on that. But I think that everybody had their right. I was not somebody that went out for or against either way, but I do believe that those people who signed those petitions and did what they were supposed to do, that they had the right, the same right for those who went around and pushed cityhood. They had the same right if they wanted to be in the City of Atlanta, and they ought not to have been fought against by those who wanted cityhood. And that was a problem to me, that you denied one group their right. It came across to me as an attorney that your right was better, and it was a minority right, and you fought against other people's right, and I found that to be wrong.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. We will start with you for the next question. The next question is, this district, District 1, was the only district to vote no with the cityhood referendum. What is your plan to engage and motivate these residents?
Well, I've said this through the whole campaign. I voted no. I never took a public stance and say that. I think the first time I said something might have been 2 weeks before the election. I think I did that on next door. And I think what I wrote was that I had decided that I was going to vote no and what my concerns were. That I was not asking anybody to vote because of what I've said. As PTA president, not only just PTA president, as a 10th district representative PTA, I asked every PTA in South Fulton to put that on their agenda so they can educate people, so those people can make an informed decision. So those that knew me, they know that I did that the whole school year from August until that vote was there. That I asked Sandtown, Randolph, Langston Hughes, Creekside, put it on the agenda so people could have the right to make that decision. So when I decided to run, I want to represent the issues of those 41% who have some concern. But I also want to make sure that I work to represent those 59% that voted for cityhood to bring that together. So I'm not somebody to say I was one way or the other, and I think that makes me the best candidate because I can bring both sides together because I was never divisive in this issue. But I'm not running to make something not work. I'm running to make this work, and since I've announced my candidacy, The first thing I've always said, my theme was working together, and I think this entire campaign, that's what I've talked about. There's nobody can say that I ever made a public statement that I did not want this to work. It has been from day one, I want this to work, and that's my focus, and it always has been my focus, and it will continue to be my focus, and I'm probably sick and tired of people questioning, asking me about that, like I'm trying to sabotage. I'm in here to make South Fulton work, and that's my goal for running.
Thank you, Mrs. Davis. The same question will be for Dr. Rauer. This district was the only district to vote no. How do you plan to engage and involve these residents?
The bottom line, who's ever representing this district needs to understand as a public official that they're there to represent the entire constituency, not whether they voted yes or no. If you go back to any of the forums I've had, I've never even brought this issue up. But to the extent that basically it's been alluded to that there's been divisiveness on this, it's interesting because I really didn't feel that until we got to the runoff phase of this election. At the end of the day, my background in government, I think it speaks for itself. I started my career in the Office of Constituent Affairs under Maynard Jackson, and I learned from the best in terms of making sure we're responsive to communities' needs. I continue to do that every day as I serve as School Governance Council Chair, making sure the needs of parents and students are at the forefront, and I will continue to use that skill set in the City Council position to make sure that all residents are heard. Even in my involvement with cityhood, I've had a number of people who are on both sides to say that the bottom line, I keep it to the facts. Professionally, I would do that. So at the end of the day, I'm here to represent all residents in the district.
Thank you, Dr. Rauer. The last question will be, and we'll start with you this time. As you know, District 1, 3, 5, and 7 will have short terms for this first go-around. We're in 2019. We're about to enter the new election year. What would be your spiel to the voters on your accomplishments going into fall 2019?
At the end of 2 years, we would have done a couple of things. We would have made major investments in our park and recreational facilities, specifically Sandtown, which is one of the best utilized parks in the area. We need to make some capital improvements in those facilities. We would have been able to make sure that the police athletic league that was launched by Fulton County, that we would have brought it to the south side of town so we would no longer be busing our kids to Alpharetta for that program. I think another key thing we would have done, we would have adopted a comprehensive economic development plan, and we would have set aside funds for seniors on fixed income to do home improvements. And at the end of the day, I think we would have made sure that we were transparent in this process in terms of making sure our city finances were in front of District 1 residents in the city in general. And so making sure we have an open line of communication with residents, not just in District 1, but across the city to make sure we have a great city.
Thank you, Dr. Rauer. Mr. Davis, same question.
In 2 years, I would like for the voters of this district, for this city, to say that Willie Davis was looking at putting in place a foundation that made South Fulton great 3, 5, and 10 years down the road. Willie Davis would not be doing something to try to run for re-election in 2 years. That looked at what type of court systems we're going to have, what type of police services we're going to have, laying the foundation to increase police services, laying the foundation to make sure that we had a budget process that improved the quality of services for all citizens across this city, that laid the foundation that when we came to transportation, that we laid a plan, that when it came to working with our schools, that we work with our schools to try to improve the academic perception, because that is what's going to draw economic development, that's what's going to draw residential development. Nobody's going to move into an area if they think the schools are not good. So the 2 years is basically, this is when I started this campaign, this is not a regular campaign. This is a campaign to lay the foundation to build a great city, and that's what it's about. So in 2 years, I want the people to say, hey, Willie Davis has tried to lay the foundation so we can have a great city. Not to do anything to run for re-election, but to make sure in 3, 5, 10 years from today, what does this city look like? That if we get Fulton Industrial Boulevard in, how do we change that? How do we clean it up? How do we present an image? That should be when somebody's going 20 east or 20 west, that there's a sign that says, welcome to whatever the new city name is, that you see it off the interstate, that